Okay, we're doing this a little bit different because Leo, I'm just gonna do you guys because we only have like 2 cents left and I've like totally lost track of time. But it's time to just do the Leo reading because I feel like it's so Leo. Welcome to June. It's June 6th. It's the 6/6 portal, so we're doing Leo first for the 6/6 portal. I have some time right now, so that's why I'm doing this. Here with Maximus. Anyway, so let's get to it. Let's look at your month overview. I just decided to do Leo just because it just hit me. So anyway, we're going to just do the month overview with the crystal resonance. We're going to do a 4-week breakdown for the 4 weeks of June using the major arcana, and then we're going to clarify each of those 4 weeks with minor arcana for you. And then you'll be on your dandy way. June is all about prophecy. I'm sure you can already tell by the way the first 6 days have gone, Leo. I just feel like the reason I didn't even need to shuffle with you, and it's just like time to do this, like the crossroads that you're at, it's like very pivotal. It's like, you know, Leo, like you can, you know, be the primordial flame or you can be the keeper of hell. 111. It's like your choice right now. It's like character defining moment, you know, and the choice you make really defines like what you really are and who you really are. So there's not really anything for anybody to hope for with you right now, Leo. It's just like people need to like surrender to the fact that it's like what will be, and who people really are is like what that is exactly. And so I just feel like that's where you're at, and that's kind of why we're doing the reading in this nature. So yeah, I would just suggest that for June that you are really just meditating on and connecting deeply with like who you are yourself, because it's just, you know, I think it's time for certain things to make a new cycle. So like if Leo's struggling with constant complacency, it's like, you know, these are the times where it might be a little overwhelming because it is time to like make a decision about what it is you're going to do moving forward, because there isn't really, like we said, there's not really this sensation of time left for false narratives to just be like going on passively. Like you really, so on the bright side, this is great because this could be like your liberating, freeing moment where you break yourself out of your own paradigms and enslavement, or, you know, like we said, it can be something that you continue to not really feel ready for when it's like directly connected to, again, your liberation. So all of that for June for you, Leo. Love, love, love. But you're getting the 6/6 portal, so it's like big energetics for you. Exactly. Right, June is grounding a beginning, you know, and I think that's kind of what I was saying. It's like when you are in a space where it's like you are at the start of something, you know, and what we choose, where we align ourselves at the start of said thing is, you know, quite important, Leo. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to hold it for now. You know, it is, you know, where we position ourselves is everything as this grounds, because it is kind of like, you know, like I said, it's character defining. It's who and what we're going to be at this time, and it's aligning and associating based on like what's true. So there's no more vacillating, right? Like there's no more light side of you and dark side of you. Like I think in your reality, Leo, right now, there's either something that really takes all of you. So even if they're having to be patient and just like, yeah, there goes Leo still doing that, but I still like love and respect all of you. It's either something that accepts you wholly or something that only wants you to exist in one identity. And I think that's the most important thing to remember at this time, Leo, is that like this whole grounded reality is going to depend on how holistically you're able to see yourself, because you can't get more wholeness than that which you really internally generate for yourself in terms of perspective. So, you know, that's kind of like what's in your head. Like I said, I'm really getting a liberated thing where it's like, great, Leo, like, because I feel like the real narrative is like no one's ever been worried about you. Like you move obviously from your heart space. So, I mean, most people are like, well, they're moving from their heart, and so am I. Like, I can kind of get the gist of what's going down. So I'm seeing that you really skate through, but I think this is just a bigger pause for Leo to just remember it's like you can't, like you said, Leo, you're too much of a leader to be like the last one to like volunteer to like hit some sort of evolution that others have already hit, you know. And I get it, Leo, you've always usually lead, so we're gonna let you have grace, we're gonna let you like procrastinate on a few things, but I think you do just have to body and own like all the things that you like sacrifice or lose along the way if you take a certain route. So again, I just want you to be able to have a choice. I don't really care what that choice is. I just think sometimes like even when we think we're making the most empowered choices, like a big series of like non-choices that we can't really make that are informing that decision even still. So, you know, I hope for that, truly. But like I said, I feel like the reason that your reading came out on the 6-6 portal is because I'm meant to read for the highest timeline, and that's kind of the vibe. It's like sometimes, Leo, you should just go with the healthier option, the higher vibrational option, because you've already explored the depths. You know, you're meant to integrate your shadow, but ultimately, like, you are really meant to reach, like, such massive heights within yourself. And I feel like, Leo, like, you know, you guys are across the ecliptic community. It's like I'm like really just like kind of like took over. I'm just like holding the camera right now, like, because I just want, you know, you guys to understand that part of your journey is like really intimately supported. You have someone who really understands like the weight that you carry as an energy and in your community. And, you know, I don't want you to always feel like everything you do is always so cataclysmic, and it's like, it doesn't matter if I do the right thing or the wrong thing, it's going to be, you know, whatever. But you do at this point just want to make sure that we are like staying grounded enough during this time to like remember, like, we need to keep moving forward in our like healthy new embodiment, our evolved understanding of ourselves, and like just trying to make work and what makes sense of the things that we've already chosen to create in accountability, you know what I mean? But other than that, yeah, I feel like huge things are coming for you June proper, like really proper, Leo. Like, I'm super excited for you guys. Oh my God, Max, he does not give a shitski. He's like, ow! Okay, well, here. What? Max, like, I need you to get off the card. Okay. Wow. Okay, so Max just like attack. He's sitting on like this is like every time I pull out, like they just like sit on it. Ow! He just bit me.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay. Okay. This is a part of the message. Because look what I pulled out, man. Someone is getting justice. Yeah, maybe just don't touch it right now. I just think that's the whole point, is like, he didn't appreciate being. I mean, it's just like, I don't really know what else to do in this situation because I'm just sitting down in my same spot and he's just moving around. Okay, it doesn't even matter. It's about this, bro. Because I'm literally talking about the Leo message, and like the cat just attacked me with the freaking temperance and judgment. Leo, let me talk to you right now. The bite, the nag that I just got, and the claws that I just got, we do have to rectify the naps and the claws, because like that was like a very particular frequency. But it's like, okay, Max the cat is sitting on like someone else's property. Like the real root issue is like you're on someone's stuff, most importantly. And you know, you can't really, I mean, if you react with like violence, snappiness, whatever, when like someone is just trying to retrieve their things that you are on, I just feel like this judgment for this temperance, this fire. Let's just watch how we use our fire. And then it's like funny because like Max is just like, now it's like the ego of just like, I'm just not moving now. Yeah. He's just doing this to be ashamed. But yeah, it's kind of like that. It's just like, side out. It's like, yeah, you're gonna get to your way and then you're just gonna be like, no, right. Interesting frequency, you know? So, yeah, because I feel like I'm really like trying to understand the situation. Right. Did we temper ourselves before we make choices? I think that's what all of this is really going to come down to. It's like, when I don't practice temperance with a judgment call, I tend to, it can be explosive, it can be not contained, etc., etc. If I practice temperance, I can respond to the situation that arises, you know what I mean? Because ultimately I'm just moving around. I've already adjusted myself multiple times for this energy, like I'm over here being actually like mindful of the cat, and then I get scratched and bit, like, Leo. So, that's your frequency. I think that's also what you're holding. I think that's why first week of June, June 1st through 8th, we're kind of looking at that. The judgments we make on temperance, on people's process, on how you should get to somewhere. So. But what's most important is that our belief and trust doesn't get. Look, he just feels like some shame. He can't even look at me right now. You notice he's never really, because that was super unaccountable, dude.
Right.
And you just have to do that.
Right there. You can tell it doesn't feel.
It doesn't feel good.
It feel good.
Another thing, when people are accounting for their own wounds, Leo, you don't really have an option to be the person that just pulls out their wounds just because they possess them, to also enact your will on a situation. This is about how we all see you if you're not sleeping comfortably at night based on the choices you make. This is about going up to someone and being like, I don't give a shit about you, but then everything you do is about that person. They're actually, we have to heal that inner child wounding, right, Leo? Where it's the person that's in your heart obviously hurt you. Yeah. And, when we feel separated from that true love frequency, we tend to act out in this way, which is force ourselves to cling to something we don't really want to be clinging to type frequency, most importantly. So, just some thoughts on that, because like I said, the whole display, I feel is, it's coming to, it's okay. So, mind you, now, like I said, that's just the first week. I think when we're talking about temperance, when we're talking about the judgment call, next, you see exactly. And it's just the conversation of it's just wow, that's a wicked way. I just think it has to do with the visibility. Look at how he's resting on my stuff. Just, I'm not going to do anything to you, but I'm asking, do you feel, your emotions are on display. So, this doesn't give a fuck. But I think the first week is that big, emotional maturity wounding that is addressed because, it just seemed vicious for no reason, Leo. It's not necessary, per se. It's just not, no matter what, it's just not. So, second week, June 9th through the 16th. I'm just going to close my eyes and meditate on an arcana and see what pops into my mind. Give me 20 seconds, Leo. Cancer, Jupiter and Cancer is coming in, supplying that sort of feeling. I really get strength card energy. how strong do we feel in ourselves? Like, how much have we been working on, like, actually resolving things, you know? And sometimes, you know, right now, like, I'm realizing where it's like, I feel like I need my cards, and I feel like he's doing something so negative to me, but I think he's like, you know, you are the message. You don't need to give their message from, you don't need the crutches. And I think Leo, like, that's what you know in your heart. Like, I feel like you're aware that, like, you know, you are the message, and it's like, you know, just having the proper perspective on, like, yourselves. And so, you know, I think a lot of Leos played that role for people so that people could awaken to, you know, how much I feel like they really do in real life. Like, you know, I think if you can see someone or something around you, Leo, that is like, you don't even need that. You are so much, you know, you might trigger what you have to trigger in order to get that outcome, because I feel like that's what Max is trying to show me is like, you know, you can hyperfixate on my attitude right now, but you can also realize that, like, what you were recording when that happened. So you have to obviously know the show is not going to go. It's not going to be disrupted if this is lost. So that's another thing for you, Leo. Like, instead of doing the emotional eruption because of, like, what you understand or find out, you know, it's asking you for patience because it's about a judgment call that you have to, like, rectify. Instead of, like, you know, all that backdated rage, because that means it obviously got misplaced and projected onto the wrong thing. You know, the best thing that you can do right now is obviously it's asking for major, like, course correction and cuts and changes that you're now aware of, but it's also just, like, the best way to funnel that energy, you know, is to know that, like, whatever you have to, like go of and move and rearrange from, your show could never stop. Like, no matter how much of an investment the thing is or a part of your routine or schedule it is, like, once you have the awareness, like, there's nothing to worry about, you know. Same with me. It's like, you know, at the same time, I feel like sometimes the universe asks me through heartbreak, like, to, like, initiate changes, because otherwise, like, I don't really think I'll ever stop loving certain things. Like, I probably would have never moved from certain, like, places in my life just because of how, like, much I, like, genuinely, like, the love once I established it is so real for me. And I feel like sometimes it takes, like, that scratch or that, like, bite to remind you, like, stay, like, married to your own energy, like, stay sovereign, like, don't ever confuse that precious you time, that precious you energy that you give to yourself, like, needs to be to anything particular. And you should look for mirrors who give that to themselves so that you guys can, like, be together while you're, like, giving to yourself, versus, like, you know, somebody being put in some sort of position of, like, nurturing some sort of collective, you know. And so it's good. Like, I feel balanced because I feel like even now, like, you know, today I got so much messages like, your life is already, like, naturally propagating regardless of the gateway, like, 6-6 portal that I'm in right now when I'm recording. And so it's like, if that's already happening for you, then, you know, this is actually not about how much I have to do on top of life just to feel like, you know, whatever. Like, I'm pretty much already living the highest timeline possible for me. You know, I wake up, I work, I love, I cherish, I live in joy and gratitude and amongst, you know, aligned energy. So it's like, you know, having those things is like, you don't really, it doesn't matter what occasion, it's like, that's why we live well on the regular, you know what I mean? So, pretty lit. Yeah, so Leo, that's your second week. Strength card, you know, recovering the strength, your own strength. Like, second week, I'm really just getting, like, you're gonna be recovering your own strength, you know what I mean? Did through 7 of Wands, did through the distinguishment, right? Like, through the ability to, like, be like, you know what, I'm coming forward as Leo. I do have to separate myself from certain things because it is that kind of crossroads energy for me. But when I separated myself from it, I'm like, oh, it works out actually for me, because in the end, I have this, like, strength that I was neglecting. So again, regardless of the viciousness or the fallout or the, like, whatever you're experiencing, that just seems like it's, you know, it may be an unaccountable response. It may just be karma, maybe a reverberation of, like, a previous consciousness, but just know it's all really rooted in that it's, like, time and best for you to just keep moving forward and get more innovative and get more, like, lighter in your definitions of yourself as you move forward, because you're probably just transcending. Like, Leo, I'm getting here, like, really transcending, you know what I mean? And I have the right to move energy. Like, sometimes I think that's why certain situations come up the way they do in my life, right? Like, in that moment just now, I was like, yeah, just fucking bit me and scratch me, like, ow, you know? But I don't think it bit me by that if it was, like, there was if you're a healer, like it's the way that you learn to like heal yourself and regenerate your body. And I just feel like my responsiveness and my intuitiveness at this time, like my own energy, is actually able to like have enough heart to like restart, to start again and to begin again. So, third week when we move from sort of like feeling this, like, I need to really focus on isolating how strong I am as a person, because I'm noticing now that that has everything to do with like, what I'm getting out of life. Third week I kind of get this like huge change of perspective, Leo. Because I genuinely think for Leo, by the third week, you thought of yourself as playing one role and you play a completely different role. You know what I mean? You do. Courage and bravery isn't about being the loudest in the room, being the most on display, being, something that everyone is consciously aware of. That doesn't make you courageous. You're realizing that the shadows you neglected in the third week are the same ones that are actually what will make people see your brave heart. Usually brave heart is like this barrier of like warrior spirit, and it's like it's not that at all. Like some of the most courageous people just own the specificity of their life, the truths of their life, the conditions of their life with, complete decisiveness and decision. And, they're not victims to anything. And that can look like a lot of different things. And I think, never really being your authentic self out in the world can really take a toll on a Leo energy at the third week, because it's like, you might go a long time without the proper perspective on who you've always been. Because I just get that it's like Leo was thinking, because of like you were in a limited consciousness, which just doesn't come with enough expanded definitions of things. So like certain energy and certain densities just gets fucking sacrificed, because we aren't expanded enough to know how to hold what that definition is. Have you ever heard of a language that has a term for something that another language does not have the term for? Right? That's what I mean. It's kind of happening to Leo. And I feel like, so you were about to like really push the red button on some shit that would have really defined yourself based on like an old system that was really limited. So you would have like been like, this is what it is. And it would have been a huge demolition to something you really, really, really worked hard to build. Like it would have destroyed your whole reputation if this had not been something that I feel like a divine feminine energy had to like stop. And I know this can be true because I did actually witness this happen to my mother. Where this is kind of like, it's funny because download is coming in now, but that's kind of what happened to her. Where it was like, before she ascended consciousness, she decided to define herself within the previous consciousness that she was currently standing in. And in that consciousness, she had a set of options. And so she was trying to communicate her true self, but just like through the options. So like there's 3 men on the table in this old consciousness that you could marry, and they're all just like karmics that are from this cycle. It's like one of them has, it's like I'm getting like, you remember the game MASH? You remember MASH? And you like write it down and it's like house, freaking essentials to life, like husband being married, it's like literally what I'm getting. It's like you were playing MASH, but it's like the person who's deciding the categories, right? Like that needs to be transcended. It's like you need to, it's like you would have, this is about alignment before like decision making, right? Before you just decide to tackle something, like don't just, this is like where that naivete of Leo, where it's like, if you're coming out of your ego, you kind of think, you don't really use discernment because you think like, I'm the king of the jungle, everybody brings me busted berries and juices, but it's like not really the case in real life. Like you do have to be discerning. It's like you can just like indiscriminately attract whatever with every passing thought, so just you have to have some sort of like, gauge and like how you're gonna flow through. So that's what they're showing you. It's like with my mom, it was like, she, because of impatience or whatever cycle she's in, it's like, I'm gonna pick who I want to marry of the 3 that are in front of me, but they belong to just like an old cycle. So none of those guys could really be the divine right partner, let's just say. But if you make yourself, because she's doing the honest thing, which is like, I'm saying who I am, and that's what she really thought she was doing. She was being, she's like, I'm being authentic though, and you're being you, but you are picking of things that aren't even for you. They're not even things that this is not the bracket you're supposed to be in. Just be like, you ever play like a tournament? If you ever played like, I don't know, like club volleyball, and like you play like, it's just like a huge like brain dump of like a master plan of like getting, you're supposed to be playing this team and this team on that court, and it's like such an intricate like nebula. And I feel like that's what they're showing you. It's like, you gotta know who you're supposed to be playing at what time and like what's for what. Because I think you are being as authentic as you can be, but again, you're still having a wound of like not loving yourself in your whole birthright, but in the sense of like I love myself enough to like see things that really feel like they have that cosmic backing, rather than just like, oh, like, you know, this is the kind of person that's like, well, if I'm rich and they're rich, it must be like aligned. It's like, I guess that's special enough. I mean, I know how I got rich, so they must have that too. So they must be like me. And it's like, no, not every energy, because you're seeing some things are like objective, like they don't have a charge, they don't have a duality, like money, like your finance sector and your karma with it has really nothing to do with like your ability to create it. Like you don't have to be a good person to make money, and I think that's one thing I can also say you're learning. It's like plenty of shitters and scammers have tons of bands too. So I think you're also learning to not be so materialistic at this time, Leo, because it's like you really used to think like because you were a good person to get your money that I think you felt that every person who also then in turn has like matching finances as you must have gotten if you took a Boy Scout fucking honorable path like you, and they really didn't. And you never just think to ask, you're just like going with it. And so I think right now, like I said, what we've mixed with, like being judged for who we mix with, made your first week and second week. And that's why by the third week I think you've changed your perspective, because you do realize like, okay, if my whole like friend group or external world is getting audited right now, then I need to make sure that I'm taking my time and slowing down and being like, okay, what story needs to change in me so that I'm not also just like the problem, you know what I mean? So you're doing that. And fourth week, I just saw the sun card. I really did. I think this is like by the fourth week, by Cancer season, and then you're like really ready for Leo season. I think you're gonna spend like probably your first Leo season ever like feeling like Leo, like feeling like what you're really supposed to feel like for the first time. You know, you could be however many fucking years old, and I just feel like that's what's coming. Fourth week, you know, and I'm just excited for you. So yeah, really seeing like that. You know, you're getting judgment for who you keep around you. So that could be a positive thing the first week. It's like you're getting opportunities from the universe expanding you, that's saying like you connect with this person, it could be really good for you. Like if you like what people would think about you, how people would judge you based on, like that's what I'm saying, you're good, like all of that's on the table. Because it could be good, it could be bad, whatever. Like I see the karma of like what the may probably look like for you, but I just feel like I said, like, you know, you're getting that, and then the second week you're gonna get to see like how strong you are, because maybe you're in connections with really wonderful mirrors who are fabulous and amazing. And, you know, maybe then that's why on the second week you're feeling like you see how strong you are, because the people around you like how to be really strong. Third week you get that changed perspective, that hangman, where it's like, okay, it's time to really like deal with like looking at who I really always have been. Not in the limited fucking binary ass, like, are you this or that paradigm, but in like the I can be anything and everything all at once every fucking frequency. And then the fourth week, you're in the sun. You're a Leo. You're back in your fucking fifth house. You know, so I just thank you for going with this, like, fucking hand. I've been having to hold this, like, you know, it's all good.
Yeah, I feel like surrendering the seats, like standing has been blessed, because it's like, yeah, it's like stand at the workstation, stand and doing the message, like,
right.
You know, it's like,
because we're being asked to stand in our power, so maybe that's what you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
But you have the right to change energy and move energy, you know.
Yeah,
you do.
Absolutely. 2020, yeah, we do. Yeah, you do. I feel that I need that, because
all right, y'all. Ready out. Peace.